What is going on, y'all? This is the Caveman. I'm here with Football with Oz Austin for episode 108 of Against the Blitz. And today we are doing our final positional breakdown before the official draft in give or take a week now. We're literally, 8 days out
8 days,
from the NFL draft. So this is the final positional breakdown episode we're doing. It's been a long road to get here. So we're excited to finally get to the meat and potatoes of why we've been doing this for the past, God knows how. I've been doing it for the last month and a half. I know Austin's been doing this shit for the last 8 months.
Since the day after last draft. Yeah.
So it's been a long time coming for this very moment. And we're going to do some finalized, my guys list and stuff right beforehand. But positional breakdown episodes are coming to an end with the offensive line here. We decided to combine tackles and interior all into one episode. And this will be a good one. I think I kind of prefaced to Austin prior. It's like a lot of my football watching experience has been admittedly players that are, more involved. So, just like the average football player, the average football watcher, I have definitely a lot more background knowledge on every other position. So I definitely am learning. I'm still trying to figure it out. I stripped doing any player comparisons. I did not give myself any rights to compare players because I'm still getting there, but I'll leave that to Austin in this episode. So
yeah, I mean, I love player comparisons because I think it affects my grade. I'm like, if I can see myself comparing a guy to like Penn Sewell, it would make no sense if my grade is like a mid-second round grade. And like if I'm comparing a guy to like Larry Borum, there's no reason I should have him as like a late first. So it kind of does impact my grade when I see the like actual like high-end outcome of a guy and the actual realistic outcome of a guy. Kind of makes me second guess myself in a good way. And I think I've accurately depicted all these guys that I like or don't like so much.
Yeah, it's one of the player comparisons I feel like are not as important to the draft world as like compared to us. I feel like every episode we've done, we have definitely gone out of our way to find the best player comparisons we possibly can. Whereas I feel like a lot of other content creators and draft analysts even, they kind of don't. Like if they don't have one, they just kind of ignore it. Like if you go on NFL.com, Lance Zierlein just leaves that box blank like 70% of the time.
Yes, every time.
It's just like, okay, bro, just didn't give a shit to do it. But I think they're just as important as Austin was preaching. And that's why it's like, if I don't see a player comp, then I'm not going to try to force one. And with this, I decided that's all I would be doing. But I wanted to first ask you before we got into the lineman talk, do you think the Commanders logo makes sense?
I get it now. At first I didn't. Now I do. And I can't, for the love of, I'm not even going to try to explain the science of how this works, especially if you're listening via audio. I'm not going to try and even explain the issue here. But there was some kind of issue with just like the logistics of the arrow going through the W and whether or not people thought that it was like an AI generated logo because it didn't make sense. But now that I've seen it broken down, it does make sense. And I don't think anyone would have given a shit if somebody didn't point it out. And come season time, I'm not going to think about it ever again. So I'm over it already.
It was the most short-lived off-season-esque argument I think you possibly could write up. Like people are legitimately getting into Reddit forums and creating like mock-ups using paper and pencils to depict the physics of this logo. It was so ridiculous. I caught wind of it. I'm like, I am the last person to like write off arguing about something because it's stupid. Like I will argue anything I feel passionate about. And I'm kind of upset that I don't have much stock in this fight because if I did, I would be more than happy to fight for a side. I guess there are some things I even don't care enough about fighting for.
We could talk about if the logo is good or not, and I think it's good. And I like their uniforms a lot. And that's where all of my brain power was going. Is like, wow, the Commanders had a good rebrand. New logo, looks good. Pays homage to the old Redskins uniforms without having to call themselves the Redskins. Like, this was like 100% win for them. And then people are like, well, technically, the logistics of that spear going through the W, I don't think I can quite agree with that. Like, please stop. put down they need to be banned from their phones for like a day. Go outside, sit on your balcony, listen to the birds, just engage with society for like a
touch
second.
some grass,
Please.
touch some grass. It's
Please.
like that guy on Twitter that's been going around ridiculing people that say they only watch 4 or 5 games per prospect. It's like, oh,
yes,
sorry, buddy, we don't have the free time to watch 40 games to meet your standard requirement to be called educated in your mind. Sorry, I have a life.
I mean, has anyone watched all of Tom Brady's games? Like, I feel like you only had to have watched a couple of them to understand. Same with Barry Sanders. Like, is he possibly bad because you only watched 4 of his games where he ran for like 200 yards in every single one of them? I think I can determine pretty quick how good Barry Sanders is from 3 games.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's what Twitter has been like lately. So if you are not on it, don't get on it. You're not missing out.
You really shouldn't. It's so stupid.
It's a cesspool. Well, let's get into the linemen, and we'll start with the consensus top linemen for the most part. I feel like there might be a couple stray dogs out there that have preference with a few guys, but Francis Mauigoa that's how you pronounce it. I'm gonna fuck up so many names in this episode. It's Mauigoa,
I believe it's
right?
Mauigoa.
Okay.
Yeah, like Haloti Nada, like that NG is like but it's like Mauigoa.
Okay.
I believe
Francis Mauigoa, the consensus top lineman in this class. He is being mocked to go as high as 3rd overall to the Cardinals. The big conversation with him, like a lot of guys that we're going to talk about in this episode, is whether or not he's a guard. Certainly undersized. I think people are scarred by the Will Campbell experiment last year. I think there's some feelings about that kind of rub people the wrong way with a guy like Mauigoa. But for him, the biggest difference between him and Campbell to me is just the shoulders. Like, he's a lot more, he's broader, he's wider. And that's a big thing that Campbell doesn't have. That was more so the crux of his struggles toward the end of last season. It wasn't the arm length. It was more so just how wide he was. And Mauigoa definitely has the edge there. I do think there is obviously a good pathway for him to play guard in the NFL. It's very honestly likely he does end up sliding inside. But I felt like the few reps that I saw at right guard just did not seem nearly as fluent. They were rough. I think it was against Pitt and A&M. He had a few reps at guard, and it did look a little clunky, a little rough. So definitely doesn't seem natural. I think he is going to be a lot more successful at tackle a lot quicker than Campbell seemed to be. And in the case that he gets kicked inside, it'll be more of like a need than it will be. This is, I guess, his best ceiling in terms of where he could play, if that makes sense. But he's very 21 years old. I was very impressed with how technically sound he was. Like, there's a reason why he is getting mocked as high as he is. He's just a very advanced player for his age. So Mauigoa definitely is the top lineman in this class for me, especially with the positional flexibility there.
Yeah, that's why he's my favorite lineman too. And like, I can't confidently say I think he's going to be the best offensive tackle in this class, but I do think he'll be the best offensive lineman, all things considered. Because like you said, if he does fail, if the length becomes an issue, which, I mean, he has poor length. It's about 33 and some change, but that's compared to Will Campbell, who had 32. So he does have a full inch on him with much broader shoulders. So I do think he does have a better chance to stick at tackle. I comped him to Darnell Wright, who had some similar talks. Some people thought that he might be a guard because he wasn't super long. He was kind of just like this big, strong bear that relied on overpowering people and winning with his technique. And that's exactly what I see Mauigoa being at tackle. I really think he can overcome the length, because not only is he pretty technically sound, but he's developed technically a ton every single year. Like 2 or 3 years ago, he was an absolute mess. Last year, you kind of saw it start to come together, and then this year, it was very, very clean, minus a very, very small amount of losses on his tape. And I think he was part of the reason why Miami was even able to go to the championship game, because they were just running behind him the whole game. Like, he can be a mauler in the run game, and he is as technically sound as you can find from a 330-pound lineman. Yeah,
absolutely. He was kind of the rock on their whole offense, really. Like, so much ran through Mauigoa, and it's just an easy translatable slide to the NFL. That's the best part about him, is there's really no there's no scheme that you're concerned about him fitting into. There's no team that you're like, man, they could leave him hung out to dry and he'd struggle. There are not many scenarios that you're finding Francis in where you're concerned about, the ugly side of his game rearing its head. So certainly one of the safest prospects in this class. Certainly one of those players that is getting mocked where they should be, which is not the case with a lot of players, I feel like, in the first round lately. So
yeah, like I see him as high as 3 to the Cardinals, and I can't in good faith give that like a crazy high grade if that happens, but like I'll get it. He can be your starting right tackle, and if God forbid he's not exactly what you hoped, they have a needed guard too. Everyone has a needed guard, so if he slides in there and you have a Pro Bowl caliber guard for the next decade or so, like I think that's very much worth a high pick.
Totally agree. Kind of a non-controversial player.
He might be one of the least controversial players in this class, which is
literally
interesting for a tackle projected to possibly be a top 5 pick.
Well, what about Spencer Fano? I think he classifies as controversial, I would say.
I would say he's incredibly controversial because he is a guy that is also mocked as high as 3 to the Arizona Cardinals and never really gets much lower than like 14 to the Ravens in mock. So he is very much projected, especially by like the NFL insiders. Like anybody that's worth their weight as an NFL insider draft guy, like a Brugler, like any of like a Daniel Jeremiah, they are incredibly high on Fano, and they think the league is too. And I get why. I mean, he is, to me, comfortably the most athletic offensive lineman in this class, and one of the most athletic I've ever seen. He has a pretty nice little nasty streak to him. He has definitely some technicalities about him, like with his feet and his hands, that I do think are pretty impressive. He has good recovery speed, but my issue at tackle is a combo of 2 things. And he has the issue of length, where he has the 32-inch arms like a Will Campbell, and he's also built like a blocking tight end. So we didn't get to see his anchor tested much because all they do is just run RPOs all game. But in the instances where his anchor was tested, I don't think I love the raw power there. And I especially if we see these 270-pound NFL defensive ends going through his chest every single play, I don't love that. So I like him much more to play center, where he can use his IQ, he can use his nastiness and his athleticism and just be a freak out in space.
Yeah, Fano, I expected to personally like a lot going into the evaluation. These are the kind of players, when watching offensive linemen briefly in the past couple of years, are the ones I tended to lean into. Like Donovan Jackson, I was all over last year, and he was a guy that, nowhere near as mobile, but definitely this like in between type of player. You think you could plug him in anywhere, it's going to work out. Like I was all over that. With Fano, that is definitely the case, but I found myself just not being as on board. And I kept referring back to Brandon Thorne. He's like one of the most well-respected offensive line content creators on Twitter. Him and Duke Manyweather, I think is his last name. Those 2 guys work together on a podcast. And I followed them, and I was leaning on a lot of what they said in this evaluation process. And the 3 things that they continue to reference is play strength, competitive toughness, and defined pathways to roles. I think Fano checks 2 of those boxes. He's got the competitive toughness. You talked about the mean streak. He's got the defined pathways to roles. I don't think that's really a concern. It's just kind of the play strength and what we don't know about Fano. What we know is that he's a fantastic run blocker. You want him on the move. You want him in space. What we don't know is kind of what you were saying, is how he's going to handle these true, heavy, fast, powerful edge rushers. Like they did not face much true competition that had an NFL-ready bull rush. They had so much beefy personnel on the field constantly. Like how often was he truly isolated? Like they're in 2-3 tight end sets constantly. It's just one of those things where we didn't get to see much of how he truly is as a strength, foundationally strong tackle, isolated by himself. It just wasn't enough for me to be like, yeah, top 10 pick, top 15 pick, like a lot of these insiders are saying. So I think he's definitely more of a late first type of player. And this is where you end up seeing a lot of the top interior offensive linemen go. Like Linderbaum went here a couple of years ago. Creed Humphrey went here a few years ago. It's like that 20 to 30 second range is where I think Fano belongs, because ultimately I don't think this is a tackle, and it's not worth taking him highly enough to try and figure that out. So he should be graded as an interior guy, and that's kind of what I went with.
Yeah, and that's the reason I have him as a mid first, and I put the emphasis on center there, because as a pure right tackle, I still think it could work. Like if you run like a wide zone scheme and you're still like using your offensive line as weapons in space, like if you put him on the 49ers, can't you see that working pretty well at right tackle? But then if you go to like the Bengals, where you're just in true pass sets all day long, like I think he would just get pushed back into the quarterback all day long. So definitely a center. I even worry about like the lack of mass as a guard. I know everyone just thinks that like fail tackle, go guard. But if your whole thing is athleticism and the brain attached to you, and you still don't have that rock solid anchor, I don't think you're a guard either, because then you're just facing guys that are even stronger. But when you're a center, you usually have some kind of help, and it's more about maximizing your athleticism and just not getting completely driven back. Like you have the most room to get bull rushed as a center. So I think that completely takes away his most two glaring issues and takes full advantage of everything that he's good at.
Yeah, you've been preaching Fano as a center for quite some time. And like I said, I went into it kind of with that thought process of, like any other guy that fits this description, you throw him out there, see how it goes, you toss him inside. But yeah, for the first time really watching any offensive lineman, Fano was the first one where I'm like, just don't even bother, man. Like I'm fearful that a team drafts him in a Will Campbell type of way. Hey, look, buddy, come fix our offensive line that's dreadful and needs a cornerstone piece. And all of a sudden this young kid is got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's getting embarrassed because he's supposed to be, the franchise tackle. And it's like, well, why did Fano go that high? Why did Campbell go that high? And maybe this is me thinking too much into it, but I almost strike their personalities to be like semi-similar, to where it's like, they'll go into it. They great guys, great locker room personalities. They that they got the heart and the will to do whatever the hell they can to block their ass off, but it's just not enough. And I just see a lot of things from a personality perspective to an on-field perspective, and Campbell, I think, has really soiled my eyes from these players. But I think it's definitely an important example to use. He's been kind of propped up in a positive and negative way for all of us to kind of learn from.
Yeah. But I just think it's odd that people think it's such an insult to want to move you to a position that we think you'll be better in. Like, it's not the whole like quarterback should go play receiver because you suck so bad thing. Like, it's just your body type is not that of any tackle that I can think of. That's why I picked Zach Tom, because he's like the only single one that is like borderline 300 pounds with tiny arms, but has just made it work with like fiery mentality, pristine technique, and elite athleticism. He's like the only one I could think of. So I put him there because he's the only tackle that kind of looks like Fano in a way. But even then, he's a little stockier. He's got a little more in his butt. Like, I think Fano is just, he's a center or a blocking tight end. Yeah. So go play center.
He does not look like an offensive lineman. Like,
in fact, they have a tight end that's 5'11", 317 pounds on the Utah team as a sophomore.
Holy shit.
And he can move. He can actually move.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, if you showed, I wonder, this is going to sound bad, but if you showed, I made a joke in our Discord a while ago talking about, like, if you showed highlights of a player to like a kid and they had no idea like anything about football, anything about the players, they had no background knowledge, like, compare these two highlight reels. If you did the same thing with a kid, no football knowledge, no nothing, and you ask them to compare or tell them which one is the offensive lineman. Is it Fano or is it this tight end? I think they would say the tight end.
Like, Darnell Washington.
If he's truly that big, like
yeah.
Fano just does not look like he fits the bill from sheer quick glance perspective at all. So
No.
we'll see, though. We'll see. It just depends where he gets drafted. I think that's where the expectations get a little bit lofty.
Yeah.
Monroe Freeling is kind of the opposite. Monroe Freeling is a freak of nature. He took over the combine, and rightfully so, because of the way he tested. He's got measurables that are ridiculously long. He's huge. 84th percentile wingspan. He's got a 74th percentile in the arm length. His hand size is 90th percentile, height 90th percentile. And then he's out here running a 40-yard dash that's in the 95th percentile, and his vertical is 93rd percentile. It's like, what the fuck is this thing? This thing was built in a lab. Like, I think compared to Sadiq, this was a more impressive combine performance. Just how much Sadiq kind of got love for his run, but to see a human move like this was pretty horrifying. The thing with, Freeling is, of course, compared to Mauigoa, who I feel like it's not Mauigoa and Fano to me. It's Mauigoa and Freeling as I came away from this process, just because, like, this is the type of tackle that if you can mold and put together, you have a Pro Bowl, all-pro level offensive lineman that is just immovable. He could get out in space and just eviscerate people. I felt like there were times where he just kind of would settle his feet, though, and then his aggression would kind of lessen as the rep went on. And I didn't think he had as much of the, like, I watched Kadyn Proctor. I'm like, this guy wants to kill somebody all the time. I think Monroe Freeling had that sometimes, but then there were reps where he just didn't have it all the way through. But when you look at just how big he is, it's like, I don't even think there's much raw here. Like, this is typically height, weight, speed, but super raw. The mental stuff isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not that entirely. He's not somebody that you have to project into what you need him to be in 2 years. He's somebody that can step out there and be a day one starter, and an effective one at that. So I was in on Monroe Freeling, and I kind of was like, not buying the hype after the combine performance. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Superhuman, whatever. How good of an actual offensive lineman is he? And I came to find out, preparing for this episode, that he's nowhere near as raw as I was anticipating. So this is a day one starter at this size with these traits that is comfortably a top 20 pick to me.
Yeah, he's raw in, like, the intricacies of, like, hand placement and timing his hands and like block sustaining, but he's not raw in the sense that he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I think like people will use raw for a guy, rightfully so, because, like, he's an absolute moron that is just happens to be 320 pounds with 35-inch arms. But Freeling, he's raw in the sense that, like, he might have a couple early struggles early on if he doesn't get coached up right away on using his hands, and might give up a couple early sacks. But I can't see him being absolutely demolished off of day one. Like, I think he's going to be putting up competitive reps, competitive games. He's just too long, too athletic, and the development track that we saw from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, you would not have guessed that this was a first-year starter over there at left tackle at the end of the year. You would have thought this guy has played 3 years in college, because he was putting up clinics against good teams like Alabama. So I really, really like him. I have him as a Colton Miller comp, because this reminds me a ton of how people felt about Colton Miller. They were like, perfect length, perfect strength, elite athlete, might just take a beat to become a really good football player. But once that happens, we're looking at, like, a borderline top 10 tackle. And I think that truly is how good Freeling can be. I think it'll just take a little bit longer than someone like a Mauigoa, but I don't think it'll take that long.
Yeah, right. And that's kind of why in my mind it's more of a Mauigoa versus Freeling thing, is because, obviously you're getting a bit more of a polished product in Mauigoa, definitely a safer play, but Freeling is not far behind in that regard, plus the traits on top of it. And I think with the way that Freeling moves in space too, like he gets out there, and some guys that are bigger like this, even that can move, their spatial awareness down the field kind of starts to drop. Maybe they get a little bit more uncomfortable in space. They're easier to evade, but I thought he did an excellent job. Like the timing bouncing from block to block on the second level and clearing lanes was as good as it needs to be. Like that kind of stuff too is important. You know, and when you talk about raw, when you talk about the mental side of the game, that's something that a lot of maybe other offensive linemen like Max, God help me when we get to Max, his last name, but that's something he kind of struggles with for reasons we'll get into. But Freeling doesn't, and he's got even better, you know, height, weight, speed traits going for him. So the hype is real with Freeling. I will say that, and I know it's not going to happen. I know Mauigoa will be the first offensive lineman off the board, and rightfully so. But if you told me Freeling went top 8, top 7, I would not bat an eye.
Like number 6 to the Browns, with how bad their left tackle need is.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be like upset. Like shocker, every single lineman in this video is probably going higher than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Like anywhere where you have them on your board, I would bet money that almost every single one is going higher than you have them on your board, because that's just the nature of linemen. It's the same reason why, like currently in the transfer portal for basketball, centers are making like double to triple what any guard is making. Like the shittiest center is making like $4 million in NIL, because it's just like, it's just the position. It's the same exact thing. Tackles are just going to go higher every time.
Yeah. You're tapped into the college transfer portal.
I'm so tapped in. I am so tapped in. I'm so bored. I have no sports.
Yes, you do. You just don't watch it.
I don't care about hockey. No one watches hockey. It's not even real.
You're facing the Sabres. Now you have to watch. The first round is Sabres and Bruins.
I couldn't name a Sabre.
Yeah, you could.
Promise you I could.
You can't. Just think about it for 5
seconds. I couldn't name a Sabre ever.
You can name one right now. His initials are TT.
No idea.
Yes, you do. You're lying.
I don't know.
Oh my God, Tage Thompson.
No idea.
You've heard that name before. You're lying.
I haven't. No, I swear to God.
You are lying.
Swear to God.
Okay, name 3 Bruins.
Dude, good luck. An Opasta. An Opasta. That's about it. I'm telling you, I'm not tapped in.
You need to be.
I just look to see who won, and I celebrate if we won, and I don't say a word if we lose.
Whatever, be lame. Vega
Ione.
Thank you.
His first name's like Oli Vega or Oli Vega Ione, but he goes by Vega Ione, or at least people call him that. But this is a guy that I am into, and some people aren't, and I can see why, because he's not the level of like crazy twitchy athlete that you normally would like from a possible top 15 pick at guard, but be damned if you can go through this guy's anchor. Like ever. This is the stone wall of stone walls at guard. And I think he's got just enough athleticism to not make it like a worry for me. Especially with how he's treated his body over the last 2 years. Like 2 years ago, this guy was like, he was overweight and he was like, he was sloppy. He was like how people were talking about Tyler Booker. They were like, he's fat, sludge, ugly, fat. But for Vega, like he worked so hard over the offseason where he became like a pretty functional athlete this year. And you can see it where he lines up in the fucking slot. He lines up at tight end. He lines up at both tackle and guard positions. Like very rarely did it feel like he ever spent like 5 snaps in a row just playing left guard. He had tons of versatility everywhere, really good puller, and you cannot move him.
Yeah, I like this player a lot. If I didn't care about positional value in the least bit, this would probably be a top 10 player in the class. Hell, I mean, it might even end up being, if I go and make my big board and I somehow forget positional value period, which I guess is the point of a big board, I think he might end up being in my top 10 players. Like he is this dominant from the guard position. And you hit the nail on the head. Like you cannot move this player. He does not fall behind the line of scrimmage at the end of the whistle ever. He is always ahead of it. He is always pushing the other player back. He has 87th percentile hands, and he will grab you and toss you. He just like, if you made a cartoon out of I don't know,
Ione.
Let
me make sure I'm saying that right, but I'm pretty that's how I've been saying it forever.
If you made a cartoon out of this player, it would just be him grabbing someone with one arm and like tossing them over and over and just like smacking him on the ground because he just latches and controls so well because of how big and how powerful his hands are. And it is just one of those players that talk about save, talk about surefire Pro Bowler. Like, this is day one, potentially a top 10 guard in the NFL. Like, that is how good he is. And you were talking about the athleticism stuff. I would classify his ability to move and his ability to pull. I would say it's average. It's sufficient.
Adequate.
It's adequate. Right. Like, it's not, it might be limited, but it's not bad. And I think limited is a better way to express, like, there's enough there. You're just not going to, it's the same thing as what we were talking about last episode, when you're not going to ask the lemonade stand for a Diet Coke. You're just not, you're just not going to do it. Like, and that's kind of Vega's whole thing, is just being a rock at the guard position. And he's a mauler, man. Like, he has that killer mentality. He will run you into the ground. And I love that. There's just something about the trenches that you need to be wired a little bit differently. Like, I didn't like Danny Dennis Sutton because I don't think that dude really gave a fuck to kill anybody. He was just a gentle giant, and he'll let the butterfly land on his finger. He'll let the bird land on his shoulder. He is just a gentle giant.
Yeah.
Vega would drive his teammate into the ground. I would love to have seen what those practice reps could have looked like if you line Danny Dennis Sutton up inside, because he probably drove that long-limbed spider 15 yards downfield. And that is what Vega does on a down-to-down basis. So there's like literally no con to this player outside of like the limited or adequate movement ability. There's nothing that I can write down confidently and say this is a true con, this is a true negative in his game.
Even as like a floor comp, like, he looks like every solid guard. He looks like every Kevin Dotson. He looks like every like Robert Hunt, like all these guys that are like above average to good guards. Even if he doesn't become one of the elite ones, if he becomes one of those guys, that's good. But I saw a lot of Kevin Zeitler in his game that just made a long career out of not being an athlete. Like, Zeitler ran, I think, a 5.34 40-yard dash, nothing crazy, but he's just a freaking brick wall, and he's mean. And guards that don't get moved and they move you, they have long careers, as long as they have like adequate movement ability where you can't just run stunts on them all day long. But I actually thought that Vega had a really good stunt pickup and blitz IQ. Like, people would try and take advantage of his lateral agility, but he saw it coming and he just disengaged, passed on, and took the blitzer or stunter. Like, he had really not many issues with it outside of very few isolated reps.
Yeah, agreed. This can be right there with Mauigoa as far as like least controversial player. I feel like I haven't seen many negative comments or anybody oddly out on Vega.
He's like apparently a great character too, like very well loved locker room player. There's like a viral video. He has like his own like Malik Willis video of like giving the homeless guy a sandwich. Like, Vega has his own thing where he helps out the equipment managers and goes out of his way to do it. So like, people love him in that way too, and that's the kind of stuff I think that really like GMs just love. So I think I honestly feel like his floor is like 14 to the Ravens, like be what Falele or whatever was going to be. That's where I like, but I wouldn't mind taking him higher.
Yeah, that would be scary, wouldn't it?
God, that place don't do that.
No, don't give them any ideas. I hope they don't do that. That would not be good for anybody.
Yeah.
Well, talk about big human beings. Kadyn Proctor is a massive semi-truck. And I wrote this as a woolly mammoth playing football. He currently is at 352 pounds last he measured in. That's 97th percentile for the position. And the thing with Proctor is I came away not really worrying about much of the actual football stuff because he is so young. He's like 20 years old this year, right? And there is no way in hell he is going to be the same player at the end of his rookie contract, for better or for worse. Like what you're seeing in Kadyn Proctor now, what we saw, at Alabama, there's going to be a different player at the end of the tunnel. And for that reason, I was telling myself this is going to be one of those guys that is they either blossom or they bust at the hands of the scheme, the team, the positional coach, the offensive coordinator. Like it will be up to wherever he goes to make him into the type of player that he can be or, can't be. The thing, though, that people are worried about is the weight fluctuation. Like he just has had a long history of being heavy and then, being around 350. And this is the weight that if he's able to maintain, which at the NFL level you would think would be attainable, then he is well on his way to being what could be the best tackle in this class. So I came away liking Proctor a lot more. I typically have tendencies to stray away from players that need to be found in the right place or put in the hands of the right guys. But when you're this young, I feel like it just is a little bit different. So for that reason, I'm giving Proctor just a general first-round pick grade. He's definitely going to go there, but I think he should be definitely in like the Lions. I think he's in the Lions range right now. Maybe even higher. I guess it depends on the taste.
Yeah, Lions are like the only team I see mocked to him. It's like 95% of mocks have him as a Detroit Lion, and it's really easy to see why. I have him as like a top 35 grade, which means like borderline late first, early second, and that's still kind of pessimistic because, like you said, you think like if he busts, I think you think he fails at the hands of the coaches and the staff, and I think he fails at the hands of the cafeteria because like there are two different versions of Kadyn Proctor and you see them throughout the year. In 2024, his beginning of season was blue chip tape. Unbelievable. And then down the stretch, it was 5th round tape. It was awful. It was so bad. R. Mason Thomas was just destroying him. And then in 2025, he started off kind of poor and then just took off. And he had a couple games against really good competition this year where he went back to looking like damn near a blue chip player on some of these. Like he wasn't taking a loss. He wasn't being moved, and he was pretty athletic. Like once he gets down to like that 350, he's explosive, which is very scary. And I gave him a Roger Saffold comp, who was a guard in the NFL. And he was good. Like he ended up becoming a guard for a while after some tries at tackle, and he was a good player, and he was just absolutely freakishly huge and unbelievably powerful. And I think if Kadyn Proctor sometimes has issues with operating in space, like when you're a 370-pound man, sometimes it's going to be really hard to rapidly change directions when someone crosses your face. Like he explodes so hard going left, and then someone crosses his face and he can't regain the momentum and catch up. So I think if you put him in more of a phone booth and just have it be mano a mano, me and you across from the guy, I think he wins that more often than not. So I really do like him at guard. I don't think it's derogatory. I think that's just where you get the best out of a guy that's 360 pounds and roots people out of their feet. So I like him a lot. I still would take him in the mid to late first in this draft, and I wouldn't be too upset about it. And if he can control his weight and not do like a Zion thing, this could be my OT1.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, maybe this is a bit out of touch for me to suggest, but I almost feel like going back to the whole coach thing, like positional, like having that matter so much. If he's getting to the NFL, there's no way in my mind at his age that there isn't somebody in one of these buildings that isn't going to be able to keep him on track. Like, it's not like this is a completely grown, mind, brain, frontal lobe, completely developed. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. He's a young kid that I still can be, put on the right track, if you will.
I'm just saying, last time I said that about an Alabama player, we had to release Jermaine Burton. Okay. Like,
how old was he though?
The same. He was like pretty much maybe a year older, but like, It's hard because like stuff like that, like the NFL really only has so much control over what the staff only has so much control over what you do. Like if you go home and you got a tray of Popeye's biscuits laying on your counter, then your staff can't control that. They can yell at you about their weight all they want, but like they're just going to bench you. And I do have faith because we've seen him come back from it though. Like we've seen him get really out of shape, really out of weight, get dominated earlier in the season, and then he cuts it like mid-season. So like clearly he knows it's an issue. Staffs know it's an issue. He fixes it, and then he looks great. So I have faith, and that's the reason why I still have him as a possible first-round pick, because I trust that he can get to that and be possibly the best lineman in this draft. It's just going to take a lot more mental focus for him than any other prospect in this class.
The thing that gave me a lot more faith, it might seem silly, but something from a football perspective that gave me so much faith is he took no holding penalties starting for Alabama, which for a guy his size, like you said, like struggling laterally, it could be so easy for him to start getting grabby, to start tackling guys that get past him just because he's late to getting to a spot, and to not take a single holding penalty throughout the course of his career with the fluctuation of weight and the tape going from first rounder to fifth rounder, that is pretty impressive to me. Maybe he just got fortunate. Maybe refs were just turning a blind eye at the right time. But for a guy that's this big to go through these struggles, to be supposedly, not laterally gifted, which of course he's not, but that spoke enough for me to be like, wow, I think there is a lot more here than what meets the eye. So I was impressed by that sheer fact, because I was keeping that's something that a lot of the write-ups would mention about them, is like what kind of penalties, how many penalties were taken throughout the course of the year. That's something for offensive linemen that is, tracked pretty closely. And for Proctor to not have a single holding penalty on his resume through the roller coaster of a career he's had is pretty impressive to me. So
no, that's very impressive. He's not grabby, but he's strong. His grip is strong as shit. Mm-hmm. Like he just grabs a hold of your chest and doesn't let go. So
yeah,
that's kind of why I like guard mostly. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think he can still play tackle and be just fine. I think just in my brain, the upside of guard is just so much higher.
Yeah, I would agree. Caleb Lomu.
Not a guard, ever.
No.
Yeah, Lomu, his one, I think this is probably the lowest versus consensus that I am on any offensive lineman. Because some people also have him in that Kadyn Proctor range of like possibly going as high as 17 and trying to be the Lions left tackle from day one. And I don't think I see that very much. And I've had some people kind of question me on why I'm low on him before. And it's a mixture of a lot of things, honestly. I think he is just not that strong for starters. He definitely has below average play strength in my mind. And that's a worry in pass pro. And I think he's also just a very pedestrian run blocker. And then even then, when we're talking about developing a guy where you're like, this isn't the guy where I think if we just develop his play strength, he becomes good. Like I think there's still more, because his length is adequate. He's not a very good run blocker. I don't think he's that nasty. I don't think he's that physical. And even then, some of like the technicalities in his game still need work. I think he still needs work with his feet, still needs to work on his timing. There's a lot to work on here. So I don't think I like him to come in and start on day one. I like him to be on the bench, keep getting stronger, keep working on his technical stuff, and then maybe we'll see. But I think mid day two feels appropriate.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying that we ended up with the same grade on this, because this was like the only player I strayed semi away from consensus on. And seeing your grade makes me think I want to go even lower, because if there was a hate agenda I had, it was on Caleb Lomu. Like a lot of these linemen, there's something that you latch onto, whether it's the size, whether it's the polish, whether it's, the athleticism, just something. But with Lomu, it didn't feel like there's much at all. Like he does have an NFL ready frame. He is relatively nimble. I say he's he's decently mobile. I think it does him a disservice to play across Spencer Fano And, he's constantly being compared to the movement ability of a player like that. But when you go back to the core fundamental principles of what I talked about earlier in the play strength, the toughness, the competitive toughness, and the defined pathways, he kind of half checks the defined pathways box because you can't play him at guard. So he has to be a tackle. But even then, I struggled to see him being a successful one. And because of the other two reasons, the play strength just simply is not there. Like he will get pushed, he will get tossed, and he just doesn't have that nastiness, that mean streak either, where he's finishing throughout plays, where he's going in and pancaking and killing a player. And similar to the issues I had with Fano, where we didn't really see true competition. The one good team, the one good group of pass rushers they saw against Texas Tech, it was the worst game he had by a good margin, and he struggled.
Yeah.
He got absolutely killed, and we're talking about a guy that's not strong, but also not quick enough to keep up with, the speedy, twitchy edge rushers that Texas Tech had. Like Lomu, ideally, given the prototype of player we're kind of looking at, should have been able to hold his own against those archetypes of edge rushers. And if he's struggling against those guys who are NFL ready quick, I can only imagine when the NFL ready strength guys come through and they get their hands on Lomu. So there just wasn't a calling card trait here. There isn't positional flexibility. He didn't play against great competition. Going back to the whole penalties thing, he took 3 holding penalties in 2025. It's crazy to me that 350 to 370 pound Kadyn Proctor didn't take a single holding call, but 313 pound Caleb Lomu took 3, given the competition he faced. The red flags, I think, are brighter than people are giving them credit for. And I could be wrong on this because I'm not big on going and watching old tape, but I think going into the season, he was thought to be the potential tackle 1 for some people. So I think that might be blinding some people.
I think that does do work. Yeah.
Because otherwise I didn't see it from 2025 at all.
No. Yeah. I think people have a very hard time when there's a prospect that gets a lot of hype and then they have a mild, season compared to expectations, and they have a hard time dropping them off of those rankings. And I do get it. He's a good athlete for an offensive tackle. He moves very, very well in pass pro, and I think he has definitely some good flashes of polish. There are things to like. He can move really well. I think that he has a lot more frame to add strength. So this is a guy that I comfortably do think will become a lot stronger than he is right now. It's just when we're talking about how long that's going to take, and we're talking about how high we're going to actually have to draft this guy, I think that's where it's an issue. Because if we talked about him as a third rounder, and that was his entire thing, if we knew Lomu as a third rounder all along, I would like him.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is the flashes of the high-end technique and the movement skills, but when we're talking about him as a potential mid-first round pick, and for some people a top 2 offensive tackle in this class, I just don't see a foundation of power or a foundation of nastiness or length to build on.
Yep.
At all.
I don't see it at all. And sometimes I think my lack of background knowledge on some of these guys is a curse, but for some other guys, it's a blessing. And I think Lomu specifically, it is a blessing because I had no problem seeing the player that we most recently saw for what he was. And like we were saying, if people are having a hard time getting off of their prior thoughts on said player, then they're not going to maybe see some of the pretty bright red flags that I think are waving from Lomu's corner. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even think. I mean, you can't take him much lower than this because after the top 7 tackles, we're getting into the weeds. So I'm not going to act like Lomu belongs down there. But certainly of the top 7 that we talk about in this episode, he would be my 7th.
I think that's fair because there's no positional versatility. There's no guard or center future here either, and that hurts the grade a little bit for me too. And I think he very well will be a solid tackle in this league, and if you want to draft a guy in the first round because you think he has a good chance to be solid, so be it. But like if I'm going to draft a guy in the first round that needs a lot more polish, I'm going to take a guy that has a really good foundation of tools to build on, like having a huge, massive frame or a bunch of strength or like elite explosive athleticism that translates to run blocking. But Lomu's athleticism still translates to average run blocking. So like, I just don't love the player.
Yeah. I was shocked with just how average he was really at everything.
That's the word. Yeah.
Just average.
It's not bad. Just average.
Just fucking plain, unseasoned piece of chicken type of player.
Walker Little.
Walker Little, who eventually was benched for a 5th rounder.
Yeah, that's kind of like just the comp I saw. I was like, I don't see a guy that's overly physical. He has some movement skills, but like, he's Walker Little tough.
Well, Blake Miller, kind of the opposite from a mean streak, from a nastiness perspective. Blake Miller is a guy I enjoyed watching quite a bit. Definitely killer mentality. Definitely checks the boxes from the athleticism, from the traits perspective. This guy has the broad shoulders. He's got, I think he might have the longest arms of the bunch we talk about. He's at 35 inches.
I mean, he's got 34 and a quarter according to NFL, like the combine, but that's good. And I've heard some people say 35s.
Yeah, I think on Mock Draftable, it was at 35.
Either way, not a question. His arms are not a question.
Look at the fucking picture.
They're almost out of the frame. Dude, he's got ropes.
So this guy's he checks those boxes. Him getting to the second, he's like a runaway freight train getting to the second level. It's like sometimes he might trip. Sometimes he might struggle to find his target. But when he gets going, he'll fight through bodies. He'll get to that. He'll climb to that second level and look to kill. I think he's definitely raw from a hand perspective. I think there's so much that could be done there. Like his punches could outright miss. I think there are times where they're just late. The hands just kind of aren't existent for the first like half a second of the rep, and that's enough to put him behind in the play. Sometimes the posture is a little bit more upright. I think the thing that was most weird to me, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but when he's pulling, he does this weird like lean thing, and then he turns. Like I can't even explain it. I would have to show you the reps I saw.
I might know what you're talking about.
It just didn't look orthodox. It didn't look normal. And I don't know if it's just like what Jawan Taylor does in a way to try and get an edge, where he's just, doing something slightly illegal that fringes on a rule. But he literally was like leaning as he was getting ready to pull. And I kind of felt like that was more of a negative than a positive. But regardless, we're looking at a player that is your prototypical height, weight, speed, desirable traits, mean, strong. You just got to work on the small, finer details, and you could have a really good tackle on your hands. So I just gave him a flat first-round pick. He's got the DNA for this position. So
100%.
At this point, it's kind of a matter of a lot of these linemen, really, just because I feel like there's so much development that happens from the 20 to 21, 22-year-old age to the 34, 35-year-old age that they all end up playing to. Like, they just become so many different versions of themselves. So if you're able to check all of the physical boxes early on and you have the mindset to play the position, I think that's almost enough these days to be a high draft pick.
And I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I'm pretty confident, though, Blake Miller has the most snaps under his belt of any player we've talked about so far.
Well,
he has played a lot of football. He has developed a lot in that time, which is really nice to see. Like you said, still a lot of development to be done in those long arms, and that's with timing, with power, and sustaining. He is an absolutely outstanding athlete. I think his testing numbers were good, but still don't fully capture how good of a mover I think he is. He is a nasty run blocker. The only issue I had was, God, stop falling down.
Yeah, he does just trip.
He falls over all. He has no balance. And I think part of that is also just the lack of I think it's a lack of core strength. Like, he just kind of goes down. And you see that a little bit in Pass Pro too, where people can kind of just get up into his frame and move him around a little bit. But once that strength develops, that like kind of raw strength develops, he'll be just fine. But he has good like drive power. Like, once he gets engaged and he's leaning into you and he can push you around, he's pretty good there. So I think, again, we're looking at one of these like wide zone run schemes that runs the football a lot. You kind of use him as like a lead blocker. He can pull. And pass pro, lower body, I love everything, and I love the length he has. It's just he needs to keep developing that power to latch onto your shoulder pads and not let go. Because there were a couple of pretty ugly, like quick losses where he just gets his hand swiped and then loses the rep, and down goes Klubnik in like a second. But it was like only a couple. Like it was a couple isolated things. It wasn't like a repetitive thing where I'm like, dude, fix it.
Yeah.
It just happens sometimes. So it wasn't a huge deal. I comped him to Colton McKivitz, who is, I come to find out, a lot better of a lineman than people think he is. But for the most part, I think because he reminds me of a 49er again, like one of these guys that's not super powerful, not super raw strength. He's just a really good mover on a team that likes to use their linemen as athletes. So I really like Blake Miller. I have a second round grade in an ideal draft. But in this one, if someone takes him like back half of 25 and on, no notes. Good pick.
Jordan Morgan went 24th overall 3 years ago.
He's a much better prospect than Jordan Morgan. Well, I had a third on Jordan Morgan, so that was different.
Well, I'm not going to bother. Just take it.
Max Iheanachor or Max Iheanachor. I've heard both. But either way, I really like this player a lot too. I think a little bit less than some of the previous guys. I have him more on the Blake Miller tier because I think they're both really nice athletes. Like Iheanachor, he tested really well and his feet move nicely in pass pro. Like he is really, really hard to get around the corner of because he also has very long arms. And he's a good athlete. I think he does have a pretty nice mean streak. And I don't know if you did any background info on him, but he has been playing football for like 3 years.
Yep.
So it is really, really cool that he has transitioned from like, I think a basketball player into a lineman. And the rate of development he has been at is probably the highest I've ever seen at a football player. So I have the critiques of rawness, of course. It's like his 4th year of football, like in history, but like, he's doing really well for himself on top of it. Like I really like the player. Just some of the rawness I think is going to keep me from taking him in the first round. But like if a good offensive coach gets their hands on him, like if Stoutland was still in Philadelphia and they wanted him to become like the long-term right tackle replacement, I would give that an A+. Like I really like that. So he's another second round tackle grade that I would take in the first. Reminds me a lot of Taylor Moton from the Panthers, where he's just like this. Like he's stout, he's athletic, a little bit more to do technically, but like he can survive on his own. And he is also the Texas Tech edge rusher's daddy. He took easy care of those guys, which
he did.
Is half the reason why I am lower on them.
Yeah, that was part of my evaluation as well, is how he handled the Texas Tech edge rushers. They completely bitched Caleb Lomu and friends. And then this guy that's played football for 4 years, didn't know what it was, probably 3/4 of his life, came in and said, yeah, David Bailey, good night. It just is, it's so impressive, man. Like, I think maybe I put a little bit too much stock in the development that's occurred in such a short amount of time, but seeing that is such commitment to his craft, and he's, a younger player. Shockingly, I came to find out as we went through these guys, none of them were like 24, 25. They were all in the 21, 22, 23 maybe ish range. And, Max falls in that bucket, and it's just seeing him develop at such a rapid pace is so encouraging. And he is so athletic. I think he had a soccer background, so he is able to get out in space. He just doesn't really know where to go or what to do once he gets out there. So that's just another one of those things where he will learn once he finds himself in those situations. He'll get a better feel for it more often. And there were some like amateur moments when processing what's going on in front of him, but nothing that you saw from Max that you tick as a negative is anything you would be shocked about, considering his background, considering who he is. So I thought that alone. I mean, I even thought he was processing well enough at times to where it's like, wow, he's only been playing, these 3-4 years, but he's still he's with it. Like there were not that many moments where I was like, damn, he looks kind of clueless out there. There was enough to be noticeable, but not enough for me to be like, wow, I had no idea he just started playing. So
yeah, it's kind of like someone that's like kind of like brand new to like their new job, but like they're a natural at it.
yes.
So like you see the high end flashes of like this guy is a fucking wizard, dude. Who brought him? He started 2 weeks ago, and then like he doesn't really know how to clock in yet because he's only been there for 2 weeks. So like there's the intricacies of the position like he still has to really figure out, but everything about him, like the frame, the movement skills, the brain attached to him. I've only heard rave things about his character, and the rate of development that he's been at, and on top of that, having the ability to say like he took care of every NFL edge rusher he faced so far, all really really good signs. So I think this is a guy in this draft I would take in the first round.
Yeah, especially like he's just so strong. Like I felt like at times he wasn't able to get put. He relies a lot on his natural anchor. Like I think he just he settles in it, and whether the rest of it's a mess or not, he is strong enough to manage from just his anchor alone. Like I felt like there were a lot of times he's just almost too patient with his hands. He's just like letting guys get inside, and that's where it could get problematic when you're looking at an actual NFL talent. But you clean that stuff up, you kind of tighten up the access to his chest, and you're not only working with the foundational strength of his anchor, but also the defense he's putting in front of it. And I think it'll be really tough to get through once he kind of puts those things together. And given the work ethic that he apparently has, considering how fast along he's come in just a short amount of time, I think this is a player that could comfortably outweigh his draft slot. So I ended up walking away pretty high on this player. I was high on all these guys other than Caleb Lomu. My bar was like kind of not even set, but somehow Caleb Lomu fell below it. Like it's just, poor guy. Whatever. Emmanuel Pregnon, another pure guard. Not many of them other than Vega that we talked about so far, and kind of a prototypical type of guard that, there's almost not that much to say about Pregnon. I think he does a good job with his anchor, another stronger player. He's not Vega strong, of course, but there really wasn't much that I felt like was worthy of first round contention. Like a lot of these guys were talking about fluctuating in the first and the second round, maybe late first. Like Pregnon to me felt like a pretty comfortable round 2, mid-day 2 player. And that was kind of it. Like I didn't leave my Pregnon evaluation thinking like, man, there's a ceiling here and I can see him going as high as this for this reason. And that was kind of it. Like my Pregnon evaluation wasn't that crazy.
No, he is a classic, like good second round pick guard.
Yeah.
Where like he has definitely, I think, his very good length. His arms were what was his arm length? 33, almost 34-inch arms, and he has 11-inch hands, which is fucking ridiculous.
What the fuck?
It's like Kawhi Leonard shit, but yeah, he's very broad. He's very strong, especially in his upper body. I thought that he had really good grip, really good pop in his hands. The only thing I wish that I saw a little bit better was like the lateral agility, moving sideline to sideline. Even as a run blocker, there's not a lot of like burst or explosion to his game. It's kind of just like he's kind of more like a tank, where like a tank starts rolling at you slowly, but there's nothing you can really do to stop it. You're like, oh fuck, it's coming.
Yeah, here it comes.
And you can't really move out of the way. But like he is like the car that backs over the dog in the driveway. Like he is just
whoa.
He is just coming at you, and you just can't really stop it. But like
it's your time, buddy.
Yes, it is your time. Dog's kind of deaf. He doesn't know what's happening. Like that's Pregnon. But like, yeah, the upside is going to be limited, obviously, when you are a pretty average athlete. And like, I don't think his anchor is like Vega level, where you're just like automatically this guy's going to be elite. And I don't think he quite has the same level of explosion that Vega has that keeps me from giving them that first round grade, or even like a confident early second, but like late second ish feels really, really good for him in an ideal draft. And in this draft, I would take him early second.
Yeah, he's just talking about the age thing. I didn't realize he's actually the only one that is 25. So
yeah, he's old.
He's on the older side,
which stinks because his tape was weird too because he was at Wyoming and stunk, and then he went to USC and stunk, and then he went to Oregon last year. He was solid, and then this year was the year it finally all came together. But linemen just have weird development tracks. I mean, he was recruited to Wyoming, so clearly as a high schooler he wasn't like dominant,
right?
And then just kind of slowly worked his way up, and there's respect in that. Like, it's cool, but yeah, being older, I always forget he's older. Like, I've heard that 1,000 times, and I keep forgetting. But yeah, that keeps me from being even higher on him. So, still a player I enjoy. Still a player. Like, if I'm a guard needy team, I would take him in the second round without a peep from me. But just kind of keeps him from that high upside.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of left my Chase Bisontis evaluation feeling similarly. I think the pathway to how I felt about DeSantis was different, but the result was the same.
I could agree with that. Like, Bisontis, he is a very good mover. Like, he kind of looks like a boxer out there. Like, he has like really nice footwork. Like, he's just smooth and he's bouncy, and he is a generous man. He is always helping the tackle or center at all times. Like, you always have an extra hand from Bisontis if like he's always looking for work, and I really like that from him. He's played a lot of football, and I think he's a very smart individual. It's just like the actual tools I think are a problem for him in terms of length and raw power, and just envisioning like how sometimes college players were able just to like cross his face and just work directly through his body. It was scary envisioning that to the NFL if we were to draft him in like the late first. So I've mocked him in the late first. I now the more I watch, it's a little bit worrisome with what I think is going to be underwhelming length and power, but the movement skills are so good. I think he has really nice polish as a pass protector too. And I think he's sufficient as a run blocker. He's not a mauler. He's not going to be uprooting D tackles out of their shoes, but he can bounce off of them. He has really good help ability, like you talked about earlier. And he can get to the second level, and then that's where he starts his mauling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing with Bisontis too, he's got a lot of experience. Like, he's not old, but he's played a lot of football. And yeah, that was kind of like the whole bit. It's like with Bisontis, it's tough for me to see this like trait that I'm like, yeah, this is a player that I'd want to take in the first round. And it's like he's short armed, he's, big, but he's just kind of stumpy. Like, he's just not a guy that I'm envisioning winning in like obviously Quentin Nelson is like the gold standard, but given the movement skills, it's kind of what you want this player to end up being. And I'm just not sure I see it because of the strength concerns. And
yeah,
I go back to the penalties thing. He's a guy that took 19 penalties in his career. So there's a lot with Bisontis that I can see the vision for. I think when putting him in the frame of the guys we've talked about in this episode, it feels like more of a negative sentiment. But for where he's getting mocked, where I have him graded out, which is just midday 2, comfortably one of the best linemen that you can get, come around that time. It's just when we're talking about all of the guys that we have mentioned already, Bisontis just, I guess, doesn't reach the bar, unfortunately.
I do really like him though at 32 to Seattle. That's one where I'm like,
yeah,
they do so much of that, like that wide zone stuff, and he's so athletic. Like, I think he can get out there and move, but he's just like, I'm just a little worried about the power. But I mean, that can come. That was a big issue people have with Joe Thuney coming out too, and look what we got out of him. He's pretty damn good. So it can happen. It can change. And I think he's very much worthy of top 35, 40 pick, 100%. If he goes even a little higher than that, I won't be too upset. I think he's a good football player, just limited ceiling, and I think his floor is also kind of low, but I think he has a really good chance of meeting it right in the middle and just being a solid player.
Yeah, this will definitely be somebody that I have to pay attention to. I mean, all these guards, unfortunately, but I don't know. I think the Bills will end up drafting defense. I'm starting to get very set as far as where I think the Bills are going to go. And as much as guard is a need, I feel like they're going to go defense.
I just keep seeing Cassius Howell projected to the Bills.
It's Cassius Howell. It's fucking
Mike.
Casey. It's like Casey's going to be gone. I'm making that declaration now. He'll be gone.
Probably be gone.
I don't think the Cash Howell better not be a fucking Buffalo Bill on the first day, or else I'm going to go on a rampage.
I've been working on a borderline-ish big board, and I think I have him as like a late third, early fourth. As of right now, like
good, bro.
No, the more I watch Howell, the more I'm like, this guy might be a day 3 player for me. Honestly, like I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. There's no projection for me. Like, he will have to be the outlier of outliers to find success in the league. So Malachi Lawrence, though, is the other edge rusher I'm hearing, and that could be some intrigue if I'm a Buffalo fan.
Definitely somebody that you put him on my map early in our process here, and I liked him not as much, but he was he came out right outside my top 5. And if I really want to be a David Bailey hater, he would be my 5 over Bailey. But I posted my top 5 edge rushers of this class, and people are like, you don't know Ball Bailey at 5. I'm like, I am actually very moderate as far as his rating goes. You go anywhere on draft Twitter, and like 80% of people I feel like I truly respect have him like day 2, but like far day 2.
I have like a second on him. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
This is Boye Mafe. But
yeah, that will wrap up our offensive lineman evaluation episode. This will be fun next 2 weeks. We have a lot coming our way. Oh, do we want to do a top 5 offensive lineman ranking?
Oh, that could be tricky. But yeah, I think I have my top 5 linemen down.
All right, give it a crack.
If I'm going to give my lineman 1, that'll be Francis Mauigoa. My lineman 2 will be Vega Ione. My 3 would be the idea of Fano at center. 4 would be Monroe Freeling. And then number 5, I'll have Kadyn Proctor.
I like it. I think it's tough because I put a lot of like top 20, top 25-ish grades on a few of these guys. So it's almost more like flavor. I think I'm going to go, Umamino is first. I'm going to put Vega 2 as well. 3, I think I'm putting Freeling. 4, I'm probably putting, oh man, it's tough because like I know Fano is going to be like right on the cusp, but I don't know if I can leave him off. Ooh, let's go with, I'm going to put Max as 4. And at 5, ooh man, do I go with, I'll put Fano at 5. Very loose top 5. But I'll be nice.
That's a good ranking. That's a really good list.
I'll be nice, but that is definitely subject to change. I officially write it all out.
As long as we have Vega love, I'm cool.
Vega's got to be a top 2 lineman in this class.
So good.
He's got to be
so good.
Well, if you guys have any thoughts, leave them down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, share. And join the Discord link in the description as well. And we will see you in episode 109.